Welcome. It's Wednesday, the 12th of November. First, take a few moments just to settle in. Some astrology is so sacred, it seems almost untouchable. Take in the beautiful view. Enjoy the golden rays. The one thing certain at this time is uncertainty, and we don't know what the background will be next. Now, middle of November, Mercury has just stationed retrograde on the 9th, 6 degrees Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter stationing retrograde on the 11th, 25 degrees Cancer. There is a full water Trinity in effect through November into December of this year. This is very deep. The meaning, the purpose, as to what we are living and why we're experiencing what we are is significant. Question: which of your senses rings most truthful to you? Which of your senses is the one to inform you most accurately, or the first to come online? Of all the astrology that has now through springtime, there's so much stacked on top of so much. Uranus has just gone back into Taurus, where he's been transiting since 2019. So what we're going to be looking at end of 2025 can reflect back to what started at 2019, what could have been a awfully upsetting, bumpy last several years while Uranus went through Taurus. So right now, Uranus is at the anaretic degree of Taurus, sextile to Neptune. This is part of why I asked about your senses. This can be incredibly magical, incredibly informed. There can be almost this divine unfolding as we continue to learn the trust fall, the North Node dance of Pisces. Where we're going, we don't know. Is it probably very different from where we've been? Probably yes. This is why I titled 2025 the year of spiritual existential meltdown into the rocket ship's front door. Have you identified your rocket ship? Have you gotten in? Do you know where you're headed towards? Do you know where you're going? Do you know in what way, shape, or form this transition is playing out in your life? So it always doesn't have to be so obvious. It can go very, very deep. But a change of value, a change of heart, a change of pace, dare I say even a change of taste. What is at the centerpiece of our life, defining worth, is Taurus. And you know what? What you orient your life towards has a lot to do with what you sense and know to be true and valuable to you. So I want to begin as I end in this video through a reminder. Remember the orientation you have formed to life. This is a lifetime committance. This is a lifetime of unfolding, and yes, it matters what we keep at the centerpiece. If each of us were stars, if each of us were constellations, what form is your constellation? What shape? What gesture? What are they doing? What is their function? The South Node in Virgo begs the question for us all to find our specific role in this greater scheme of things, this whole thing called a species, this whole thing called a humanity, where we are too small. And do be wary, the 13th, the 14th, heck, even in a few hours, by the time this video is reaching you, the moon is entering Virgo. Please, please be easy on yourselves, particularly 13th, 14th, and then in a couple weeks at the end of this month again, the moon gets into Pisces. Goes opposite to a rather infamous asteroid number 1930 will be conjoining the moon's south node November 27th. There is a building up of tension now into the beginning of December. This can be a launch in and of itself. So to begin with, first week of November, Venus left Libra, where she is happily having first dates and sharing and changing more in the PowerPoint presentation style, then enters the sign of Scorpio and rears a corner, rounds a bend, square to Pluto on the 7th. This was just a few days ago. This is, again, a significant change. Why? Because we're still introducing Pluto into Aquarius. This Venus-Pluto square is like melting down the material of our heart, our core. How do we define ourselves? Again, this fundamental sense of value and worth is important. It is extraordinarily important that we don't throw ourselves out, that we don't lower our standards down, that we don't settle in such a time, because this is the rocket ship's front door. This isn't about going backwards. Now, do we always know where the future is taking us? Do we always know what's coming up just around the next bend? Absolutely not. Sometimes the future hits us before we know what it is. It may be incongruent with anything we've known or experienced before. So it takes some time to break in those new pair of pants or the new pair of shoes. That is ongoing into spring 2026. Significant rounding of a corner. I mean, the analogy of the rocket ship is a dimensional penetration, where suddenly there's a change of gravity and the laws are not obeying the same ways we are used to them obeying. I mean, you look at astronauts floating around space and no conspiracies, seriously, the first photographs to come back from satellites and rocket ships is, to me, the beginning of the Aquarian era. This is where we now have a very objective, very detached, very higher bird's eye view perspective that is informing us what is a human, a humanity, a world, a globe. What is it when we're interconnected with these new technologies like the internet that is revolutionizing everything? How? Because of our interconnection. It's that actual objective seeing. Aquarius. Oh, okay, human beings look, they're a little bit different over here, they're a little bit different over here, they're a little bit different, but at the core, we all have a human essence, and no matter where you go, there's a diversity of different people. We as a species may not even have known this so much several centuries ago, right? I mean, we don't always give ourselves credit for how unprecedented these times are, how revolutionary these times are. It is really something. I got to tell you, it's really something. It's fascinating in itself with this water trinity that goes so deep to actually speaking of the nature of the soul, the heart, our relationship to God. This is profound stuff, and it is what I've been saying for the dozen years this channel's been up. This is a Jupiter on his own north node, where he was 12 years ago. This is the most missing and needed medicine that our world doesn't know it's missing. Our world doesn't understand what it's missing is being reflected back to us. Clearly and unclearly, because there's some major learning lessons and adjustment of ontology. What we mean is belief system here. For example, say you grew up in a puritanical, fundamentalist, religious type of household. Were you raised to even prioritize yourself? Were you allowed to have a centerpiece? Were you allowed to be your own individual with a unique pace, a unique style, a unique taste? A lot of us were raised to forego those things as if those things were counterproductive or intuitive or against the grain of our spiritual nature. And boy, do we get bent out of shape when, liver function's supposed to be doing what a liver does, a lung function is supposed to be doing what a lung does, and then we encounter this mental disease called narcissism, where suddenly you can't be creative, suddenly you can't be an individual. The only thing you can do is copy-paste. The only thing you can do is mimic. The only thing you can do is fake it. And what is the result of this? Do we even know ourselves? Do we know each other? And is it therefore a safe planet to be on? This most missing and needed medicine is emotional intelligence. Do we know what our needs are? First of all, because that's an exploration and discovery in itself. Congratulations, some of you are graduating with this Uranus completing Taurus through April of 2026. Then Uranus is in Gemini till 2032. So yeah, there's a big change of pace here. But again, since 2019, there could have been all sorts of thorough. I mean, Venus and Scorpio can deal with betrayal, deception. What's the difference between what you get on the surface versus what it is? I mean, even this beautiful background. I've learned so much from this land. I've learned so much from this mountain. I'm so grateful for my time here. And it has taught me so much about the difference between the wrapping paper and what you actually get, and the total complexity of a human being, where I'm not a hate this sinner type of guy. I'm a understand the dynamic, aka the objective understanding of these bits and pieces, these magnetic attractions and repulsions. That is leading into more of what a real relationship is, right? This is what it means to actually know another human heart for what it actually is, right? So, I mean, we're learning how to love. We're learning how to relate. And in order to do so, we need to be able to meet with others on a like page, a similar wavelength as ourself. And this Venus-Pluto square, again, it's a melting down of what's at our core, at our heart. So our own heart chakra, ruled by Venus, creates an electromagnetic force field that attracts things similar to itself. As we melt down the content of our hearts, therefore, we set a new pace, we set a new dimension, a new style. It's about quality. It's about knowing, again, your worth, your value, so you can stand up for yourself when and where you need to. You know where your body ends and the other begins, so you can discern what are your needs from theirs and what is not yours that you've inherited too. Because there has been betrayal, there has been deception, there has been projection. And you know what I find? Results from emotional immaturity. Meaning we don't know our own needs. We haven't had time to discover ourselves as an individual. So do we know who we are? So can we communicate our feelings? Have we even had healthy mirroring? Is a question in and of itself. And I think for the most part, it's no. I think most of us are fish in water to inaccurate mirroring the same way most of us are fish in water to PTSD. We're not even aware that this phenomena exists. We're not informed by prior generations. This is cutting edge. This is, again, unprecedented. But I'll tell you some interesting astrology, because some of people, track the sun and the sunbursts and all of this. And we've got this intergalactic object that's coming by, the largest that's ever been in our solar system. Unprecedented. Did we know that intergalactic object was going to be coming in at the start of the year when we said there's going to be a rocket ship here? No, this is the point. If you learn the actual astrology, if you go to my school, that's why I put out the school, all the planets through all the signs, all the planetary aspects, you can learn from the source code direct. There is nothing more accurate. There is nothing more truthful than the astrology. So you learn the bits and pieces, and you don't even have to take my word for it. You can validate all of these truths for yourself. But what is it we understand is nature as it actually is? We therefore learn to honor what is natural, what are the cards we've had dealt, how to best play those cards in the most respectful way. Again, we're not born to copy and paste and mimic and all be the same individual. We need safe space. We need what I think most of us don't ideally have, which is really family. I mean, this is profound stuff. Again, this strikes really deep chord that we may not even know what's going on. It's being felt on the spiritual dimension. Have we had community? Have we had connection, mind to mind, soul to soul? This is one of the things we're most starved of. I think all of us have a nostalgia for a long distant time known as the matriarchy, where somehow women birthed children, so they were at the top, but the point was there was no nuclear family. Children revolved around the species. This was our community. Do we even know what such a world would feel like where every other human is our brother and sister? Could we therefore trust one another a little better? Could we therefore know one another a little better, and less manipulation and less backstabbing and betrayal? Because it's the emotional immaturity that results from the lack of safety that we can't talk about what's actually going on inside. We can't talk about what we're feeling while we're living our life. This is patriarchal conditioning I'm speaking to here, which unfortunately follows itself into the culture or the religious programming, which can be severely misleading, such as, hey, you're spiritually advanced when you're happy all the time. You're spiritually advanced when you have a mansion. No, this is not what spiritual people value, as a matter of fact. So if you ever see the Instagram ad of I manifested this mansion because I'm so spiritual, you can know that is not a spiritual orientation. What orientation have you formed to life? The proof is in the pudding, is it not? This is the stuff you can't make up. We want to be surrounded by people that we don't have to fight to be understood by. We want to surround ourselves with people that say they're going to do what they do and then they do it, as opposed to saying they're going to do it and then they don't, and then they do it when they don't say they're. I mean, do we understand what integrity is? Do we understand what the power of the heart can be? Because with this signature of Mercury stationing retrograde and Jupiter sign stationing retrograde in the sign of Cancer, the mother, the family, the home, we need to have the space to emotionally digest, to even know our story. And are we able to know our story if we're not in a safe space to emotionally digest? So this is the change. This is the transformation in and of itself. No, we're not all on the same wavelength. No, we all cannot understand each other. So Venus has to do with the concentric circles that we form. The people who are like family to us, those we do not have to fight to be understood by, are typically those we keep on the most inner concentric circle. And that could very well just be a few people, right? We don't have to have a million friends. In fact, you're guaranteed to be selling out or to be losing something really important when we sell out. And certainly, again, watch this for people who are in healer, spiritual teacher roles. It comes for each and every one of us. It is a fork in the road. It is a choice. Be real or sell out. And that takes place on the human to human relational dimension quite a lot, doesn't it? Because we're meant to butter each other up. We're meant to put on these masks and perform because we haven't even known we can relate in a different way. There can be increased safety and understanding of what it means to be the human that you're born and meant to be, the heart that you're meant to be as, the constellation that you naturally fill up in the sky. All right, so let me try to dig into some of this profound astrology. And my God, it's like we've got our new moon just a week from now, 28 degrees Scorpio. So again, towards the end of November, there's going to be just change after change. And how is this occurring? Well, Mercury just stationed in Sag. Mars is in Sag, forming opposite to Uranus through December 13th. So this has an exciting rocket ship feel to it. Like, whoa, we're going somewhere different. We're going somewhere uncharted. And you know what? Mars and Sag wants to get out there and chart it out and see what's on the other side of this next hill. See what's on the other side of this next mountain. We don't know until we've gotten over this hill what's on the other side. And Mars is excited to get there. So there's this, increasing excitement, this burning, this increasing of the chemical reaction, getting hotter and hotter, faster and faster. That is why I also let you all know 2025 to 2026, Northern Hemisphere, is not a cold winter. It's what Mr. Freeze said in Batman Forever. It's a hot time in the old town tonight. It's not normal. This is unprecedented. The heat is getting turned on when we're used to the heat getting turned down right now. We're used to hibernating and going inside, and we may be going outside. We may be going up when we're so used to going down. That's the significance of this change. It's an alchemical change. It is like water to ice or water to steam. And have you sensed any difference between these? This is why I ask, what sense is informing you the most when we cultivate our spiritual direction, when we commit to a spiritual path and begin to spiritually purify? We discover we have spiritual senses. And man, those things can really go beyond anything we've ever taught or knew was possible. Again, welcome to Uranus, anaretic degree Taurus, sextile Neptune, anaretic degree his own sign of Pisces. Mystical, magical, the relationship to God. Do we choose this, or is it chosen? Are we, co-authors of our fate? Is it all fate? Is there no fate? These are the questions. I don't have the answers to all these questions. Yeah, I may try to, but I'll outsource to the next expert if I don't have an answer to the question. And Mercury stationing mid-Sagittarius square the moon's nodes, it brings up such existential questions. What is the bigger picture? What is the truth here? What can we commit to? What is real? It's like if you're going to invest into something, what holds value over time? This is going to be defined differently per each and every individual. If you have really good hearing, I suggest investing in a good set of speakers because it makes all the world in the difference, doesn't it? But if you don't have really good hearing, does it matter? No. We're all different. So we have to understand one another to such a spectrum. People have no idea. People have no idea. They haven't taken my astrology school classes. The variance in consciousness, human to human. People have no idea. People love to assume, and you know what? You're better off not. Don't assume. That person is as extraterrestrial as you are as to yourself, and it gets to be more increasingly black hole-like the deeper we go in. The closer you get to someone else. You don't know the person until you know their shadow. That's why we ought to be able to embrace the essence of what the divine feminine is, period. It's now or never. With this grand water trine, this is how we're structuring our life. There's people that proclaim the divine feminine, for decades that are shaming it and spitting on it simultaneously. We need to understand what the divine feminine is. It is our feeling-based experience of life through which reflecting on these feelings and unpacking, therefore, our past, our story, has meaning. Everything, good, bad, and ugly, has shaped you into being exactly who and what you are today. If we don't have the space to honor those emotions, those feelings, so we don't feel safe in the full spectrum of life, so when tragedy occurs, which it will for each and every one of us, and then everybody around us says, pretend that tragedy didn't happen, and certainly don't complain, and no, you are not a victim, and no, I am not a tyrant or an oppressor. Yeah, I've heard that one more than once from more than one tyrant and more than one oppressor. And what are they oppressing? I've been saying the same things for a dozen years. I've been preaching the divine feminine essence for a dozen years. It's like if you miss out on what this is right now, it's now or never. Do we understand this most missing and needed medicine is to inform us of what life is? And when we get into the full spectrum of it, is it all sugar, candy canes, and cotton candy? No, the full spectrum, Scorpio, of life rips open Taurus, our heart. This is what brews the ambrosia of the Holy Grail. This is the Sacred Heart. It's not a heart that's wrapped up in duct tape because we've got to put a smile on because it's weak to have emotions. And so don't even cry when your nearest relative passes. or when the person you love the most leaves their body. Are you kidding me? Again, I see people go into such odd directions in evaluating one another over these things. Are you aware of how much you're spitting in the divine feminine's face? Yes or no? Because the toxic positivity is patriarchy. It is we own slaves, but we're not going to look at it because we're perfectly good and we're going to heaven. So you are the problem. The mess is actually yours. Yeah, I know you ended up in this position and, we were sort of responsible. We stole you from your mother, but, it's your karma. What is that? That disassociation, that avoidance, is it not the antithesis of the divine feminine? Is that going to allow our soul to become situated in our body? Or are we going to become scattered, disassociated, and therefore impotent, unable to effect change in another's life? Because we've only remained as far as our own backyard. So we can only assume that people are as different as our backyard extends to. Beware such people, especially in teacher spiritual roles. If you haven't had the full spectrum, I've been in a high, I'm reaping all my karma, so I've got the trust fund and everything gets served to me, so I'm the one who can help people through life because I'm the most elected. Is that what Christ taught? Is that the great Neptune Pisces teaching that we're all embodying, experiencing, discovering? We are part and parcel of. Who are the constellations dancing, holding hands? Who are the constellations in a circle holding hands? Who is your inner circle? Can they meet you in the stars? Do they recognize and reflect back to you your own magic, your own worth, and encourage you to protect your own flame, if not adding to it, like one candle igniting another, as we each lead each other back home to ourselves? Easier said than done sometimes, yeah? Again, you don't know the person until you know their shadow. If we are not safe to talk about shadows, are we safe to be people? I'll let you know it's easy to see who's done their shadow work or not. Especially at this point, doing evolutionary astrology, I know of no greater modality of shadow work in existence. You want to map out your blind spot, what you don't see? Join my school, find out what house your Pluto is. Come along for the ride. Your life will become increasingly more meaningful the more you stick with astrology. You are one of the constellations. You are dancing amongst the stars. Don't settle for anything less. Don't allow someone who has been severed from their own heart and humanity dictate to you what it should look like, to the point of losing your own soul, or the point of losing your own tether to your body, the earth. This is abundance. This is, you stick one seed in the earth and apply sunshine and water, and a whole new plant comes up with hundreds of more seeds to create hundreds of more plants. Do we know how to bring that into our lives? Do we have the right people? Are we working together for it? Because ships are going in opposite directions here, and people are jumping from ship to ship. But once you're on board, you're needed on deck. And no, we do not all serve the same role. Some people are needed at front, some people are needed at back, some people are needed on top of the mast, some people are needed down below. Where do you belong? Which direction is your ship sailing? Who are you sailing with? Are we cohesive? Are we all in this together? Venus asks us to reflect on our long and what could oftentimes be a brutal history that has initiated us into being the powerful, potent catalyst that inspires and uplifts the hearts of others. Why? Because we've been through it. We've been through the tumbler of Pluto Scorpio, refining the gem into being as purely refined, like a diamond of light is Venus. The brightest light that pierces all is what this can gain access of and to. So again, to come back to the day-to-day here, be easy on yourselves, 13th to 14th. Mercury himself goes back into Scorpio on November 18th before stationing direct at the end of this month at 20 degrees Scorpio. So what's, this exciting journey that's up ahead, and we know change is happening, but we don't know exactly the order or the sequence. It's going to come together towards the end of this month. Is transition happening? Yes. Can we go far now? We should aim for the stars. We should aim for the moon, and the stars will catch us. Mercury will go back into Sag December 11th. Venus goes into Sag November 30th through the month of December. So it's like where one adventure leaves off, another begins, but let's aim towards the heart, because this is a new reality that we're aiming our rocket ship towards. So think about that. If this is a rocket ship that we're on, we probably want to know that that rocket ship is at least going in the general direction we want to be going into. This is, again, time to change ships to make sure we're on the same wavelength with the right crew, because this can be a really exciting transformation that honors honesty, authenticity, and those on a similar wavelength as ourselves. Are we all supposed to be the same? Are we all supposed to value the same things? No. It's like people who really value sports. It's beautiful. I'm not as much one of those people, but I can understand it. I've got a Mars in Aries. Really Aries people should hang out with really Aries people. Really Taurus people like myself. Where do you think these rings and the way I dress? We understand one another. We are the constellations dancing with ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, do not settle. This cannot be underplayed. This is sacred astrology. I can't even touch. I cannot translate the significance of what is taking place at the end of 2025 into spring, Northern Hemisphere, 2026. That's when the new really starts to come out. And boy, it's different than anything we've ever known before. Let this be your validation. Let this be your graduation. Let this be your culmination into a completion of rounding a corner of knowing who you are, at least to the next step. Because of course, the journey always continues. The mystery is ever expanding, but we're taking a significant step. So have your compass, have your GPS unit, and if you don't know where you're going, no problem, because this is what I do for my job. You can tune in November 22nd. Rasalilacommunity.com will be my next Q&A. There you can bring in your chart, ask any question about your life, and it gets as clear as day, especially this next Q&A when Mercury stations direct. May we find true safety. May we find true home. Remember and remind yourself your overall orientation to life. Yes, it matters. It means everything. And it could be the bottom of the barrel of what's driving this fundamental alchemical transformation from one thing into the next. Until next time, it is always an honor to play part as your message delivery mailman. Please take care.